Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Price. Welcome to the August Energies. Whoa, since June, the energies have really turned a corner. We had the eclipse series, solstice, and it feels like that reflection that we are emanating into the world is becoming ever more potent, more important. And this is what Ascension is all about. In my about 2 decades of really focusing intently on ascension energies, this past whole year since 2020 and this year has been some of the most consistently intense times. We are really being called to change and readapt because there is so much collective fear, anxiety, challenge. And our ascension is about focusing into those positive potentials because the ascension energies will continue to call you to more conscious interaction with the subtle, the potentials, where energy is very malleable so that you're using your creative power. And of course, that means more personal responsibility with your inner focus and your interactions. And as the July energies of sacred self have really brought us deeper into that blending, we've been more focused on weaving your infinite self into the finite human experience. And your sacred self is another way of saying your infinite self, subtle self, your omniscient, unconditional, timeless self, your divinity. And I loved the July vision of the back of the heart and the throat chakras, the back of the head, the subconscious mind expanding like angel's wings. And I mentioned that I saw it like gossamer threads of information. And later, I'm going to talk about the August vision. I'll go in a little deeper into that because the sacred self of July and the August energies are so entwined. And what I noticed standing out strongly in July was transforming deep fears or resistance into faith and courage. So your dreams might have been stronger in July. Situations were likely coming up that were showing you where you need to focus more into healthy boundaries, honoring your value. It was potent. And for me, sometimes it was challenging, but it was really worth it. And for those of you that are on my newsletter, I sent out an Ascension symptom update in July, which I don't often do, but there were so many. So I'll put a link to that article below. But the August energies are building on this focus on your sacred self in a really beautiful way. And overall, the energies of 2021 are all about freeing your heart. So getting your powerful love into your life, your divinity, your sacred self, so that your life experiences are reflecting that you, unique, cherished you, have the power to change this world. Not by yourself, not overnight, not into immediate utopia. But when you saturate the Earth's information field with more and more loving potential, things change more rapidly. And that mechanism is your divine, sacred, creative potential being more actively and consciously used instead of getting swept away in other people's agendas or disempowerment narratives. So to help you free your heart, that resistance mechanism, the ego, has to soften its control. and it doesn't usually go quietly, because for the ego, everything is life or death. And the August energies really support moving into a healthier balance with the heart and mind, softening that ego so that your heart can lead. And the August energies are bold heart. Are you bold enough to risk change? The ego doesn't like that because it would rather stay the same. No matter how miserable you are, whatever's occurring is a known that has kept you alive, so that can be better than change to the ego. Real change is bold, and it generally is step by step, one small change after one small change. Are you bold enough to forgive or say you're sorry? Ego doesn't like that either because it's perceived weakness, and that weakness perception can open you up to dominance or overpowering according to the ego. So it's better to stay tense, contracted, alert to all of the negative potentials and focus yourself there. What's this person doing? What's that one doing? Who said what? To really open your heart is bold. It's not for the weak. They get louder, they try to distract more, they want to create more chaos, which just justifies why they can't change. To focus on a loving potential, especially when everyone around you is not supporting that, that is a bold heart. How many of you, following your intuition or excited about a future potential, have heard, oh, you're not being realistic, or how can you avoid all of the challenges that are going on? And I know it's possible to integrate both. That action isn't the only way, but it is part of creation here. And the bold heart isn't trying to force the future. It's not avoiding pain. The bold heart is optimistic because there's foresight. That's the opti into potentials, the mystical. The bold heart protects that inner sacred space from the naysayers, the negators, the wolf criers, the drum beaters. You don't need to ignore them totally, but mostly. The bold heart is open to readjusting. It's open to reason, to logic. It's just not dominated by it. And there's a balance. The bold heart can feel more deeply into truth. And sometimes that hurts. But instead of letting the ego lash out or shrink back in order to protect, to keep that sensitive, loving light that illuminates potentials of love, the bold heart honors the space within and nurtures those potentials with fierce grace. What a beautiful gift Ram Dass gave us to focus on. When you feel weak, that is the time to initiate the bold heart. The heart that is willing to lament what is not fair, what's not easy, so that it can be free of that pain and fear and able to focus in a different direction. Not ignoring it, honoring it, letting it transform through the experience. The heart that is willing to reach out for support when that's appropriate, so that you can understand vulnerability as a point of connection. The heart that is willing to strengthen on its own when that's appropriate, so that your inherent capability becomes obvious. That's how you weave that sacred self in. The heart that is willing to release cascades of emotion and fear that sometimes drowns a courage that is ready to roar forth just as boldly. I have been there, and I still continue to ride those waves because expansion is constant here. And with everything that we are going through, it can feel like the challenges of this realm are bigger than the boldness of your heart. And that was Ariane's point of last month's sacred self preceding this renewal into your courage with August's bold heart. That as we move through this powerful Lion's Gate and honor that your pride is really the support of so many powerful lions, legions of light workers that may not seem obvious in the moment, but there's more support than you can tangibly grab onto. And yet when you tune in and weave your sacred self through the bold heart, that support becomes more and more obvious. I know that you holding on to those sacred potentials within you, your dreams and your desires, and really nurturing and honoring those, and then following the clues at the time that it becomes a shift from inspiration into action, that's what changes this world. Love boldly. It's what this world needs. I will be teaching light language online in September. The early discount is available until August 8th, and this is the last time that I'm teaching this class this year. So it's your last opportunity to learn light language in depth with me and an amazing group of like-minded souls. I'm always so blown away by the people that are drawn to light language. And it is so powerful to learn it in a safe and sacred community so that you have people to practice with and connect with that are on a similar path. And I love teaching this class, stewarding those bold hearts into expressing more of their multidimensional nature, because especially during this last year where things have been so intense and getting quiet and connecting has been more challenging. And so having light language for me has been such a powerful support during this time. It's an amazing class, so I hope you'll join me online for that. I will also be doing a Lyran Perspective teleclass, and I loved Ariane's channeling last month for Sacred Self. They, of course, focused on weaving the sacred, the infinite into the finite, really owning your vastness. And this was actually also in the card reading video for the third quarter, so I'll put a link to that below. It was really powerful to precede the August energy with Sacred Self. Became very apparent to me once the August energies came in, because last month Ariane talked a lot about neutrality, of course, and the equality with construction and destruction, so that we're able to maintain our neutrality with both, even though one might feel more negative or fearful than the other. When you can sustain your creative capability within both, that's when you're really owning your power, being able to bring your sacred self into the finite experience. And of course, in one moment, you might find that your sweet ego is resisting destruction. And in another moment, you might actually be resisting construction. You want it, but are you safe to change? This is why it's so powerful now with the bold heart, so that you can sustain that courage to create change. I will also be doing a monthly energies teleclass in August to amplify your bold heart. I'll be teaching about transforming your fears and resistance into more love. Of course, I'll be using crystalline soul healing and light language to help you release and activate your inspiration, your creative capability, so that you can sustain and anchor your sacred self into the physical realm. And these are the powerful shifts that move us into staying grounded, so that we are able to weave the infinite into everyday life, where the mundane becomes the mundance, that creative movement of your soul into your life. And this profound connection of your sacred self and your human self, it's what amplifies your creative flow when you have the bold heart to sustain that. Now, before we talk about the light language, I want to share the vision that I had for August, because it goes so well with the transmission. For August, I was shown those gossamer threads that I was talking about in July that were all along the back of the heart, the throat, and the head. For August, I was shown those gossamer threads, the information flow of your heart boldly reaching out into life, connecting into this realm. And so it felt like the July vision that created more empowerment and clarity within was now flowing outward and allowing your heartstrings, your information, a path of creation in this realm. And that really fits with what Ariane has been saying throughout the year, that towards the end of the year, we're going to feel a lot more of that externalization, external call to interact. And of course, not everything will manifest immediately, but those connections are flowing outward. And the energies in the transmission were really interesting as well, with this focus on a bold heart. During the transmission, I actually had this beautiful sense of a light heart and ease of flow, like that grace that allows those gossamer threads to weave into life. And it also felt like it was exciting or initiating the third eye, giving you that imagination, the optimistic vision to be able to create. And the energy of Mot came up, and I was shown the feather and the heart being weighed against each other. And this reminded me of how July often felt, like burdens were being resolved, deep things were being resolved, so that the heart is open and light enough, bold enough to fly free, light like a feather. These are really powerful times. Now, in this month's intention, I was shown really strengthening the energy of the heart so that it is leading you, and then your brilliant mind can follow your passion and give it a path of creation. But softening the ego is key. So we're going to focus in a way that supports your heart emboldening and your ego unboldening, so that you are softening into change. And I recommend that you repeat this intention daily, especially during creative moments or challenging moments, but do this daily, maybe morning and evening, so that you're building change. And observe what surfaces from your subconscious into your consciousness. And it may not happen every single time, because sometimes you need to build that energy. But observing whatever you're noticing and repeating this slowly with meaning each day. So the intention is, my bold heart loves challenge into change. My bold heart loves challenge into change, into transformation. Now, some caveats first, because you might have felt some resistance to that one, which is actually good. Challenge is not a bad word. And Ariane showed me they chose this specifically to soften our resistance to the perception of challenge. What is a challenge? And when your sacred infinite self is leading, challenge will feel more like a creative opportunity. It won't always feel easy, but when you're able to embrace both the construction and the destruction, because you're staying connected to your sacred infinite self, those challenges feel smoother. They feel more like a creative opportunity, even though there can still be some up and down. So let's do this together for a moment. This is how I do it. So take a nice, relaxing breath and repeating slowly with feeling, sensing into any kind of information that surfaces. My bold heart loves challenge into change. Again, my bold heart loves challenge into change. My bold heart loves challenge into change. Good. What were you noticing? Any kind of physical, mental, emotional, any kind of intuitive data surfacing? And as you're doing that, you're just observing, because that's showing you what's releasing, what's activating, what's starting to come into your consciousness. And then at another time, even when you're not saying it, things might surface up because you did this very simple intention. What I was feeling the first time actually was a tightening in the second chakra, front and back. And I had some flashes, like quick memories. And don't worry about being psychic. You don't have to be psychic to do this. Just noticing whatever kind of information surfaces up. But I was having quick flashes of people from the past, sometimes family. and then the third time when I was saying that, I felt a relaxing in my throat chakra and my heart chakra. And I was kind of feeling a little bit of stirring in my head and seeing these like swirls of energy light that was washing through me. And it felt kind of like it was clearing my mind, like letting go of worries or things from the past that might not even necessarily be up in my life right now, but that are ready to release. And that's what lets your vast, infinite, bold heart lead instead of your vast, unconscious mind. It's important. And it's just those simple intentions each day that support that. So please hit the like button, subscribe. Please share this video with others so that they can strengthen their bold heart, expanding that pride, that legions of light, Lionsgate light workers that are willing to shine their light into this world, even through the silence. And leave a comment below of what you want to boldly love into a new potential this month, even if sometimes it's first masked as a challenge. You are infinite, having a finite experience, and your bold heart connects those two aspects of you into oneness, into wholeness. I hope you have an amazing August and enjoy the light language. Amnem ar acharot aratsiak akreat urma. Pran hanandarat et urashtaru takral eretsiach namn haktiarat akra. Korak kakairum dal eratakneshter at sabjat erat.
Koren mnemdat orat sayrestel eret serukrum dant antiar olel. Jairat sum shanad graerut o korat akraim hamderut rot sel ishterut. Ke grand ha kwa. Sum shanot sam chayet agraerut enen krail hermdat uriat siachumnam im ma o korat akraerat al irasu. Sam jarat graerat and him oram dal at sanchan in. Kin nunarat urptau reshet exer arastal erot onum. So shayan dand arakrarat at ulel. Horem nan sacharatik tiarut o kurat grub and irat said, Cherut grol remdat in, horem den et seach grorat elele orat deat such na. Wham kair arakrat aorat ol. Ran sacharot ut im krayet ig katia orat. Cha orat sen cho akirat. Korinda arukrat il. Charta san shairumat suma tiereknand, danan shairut sustat edet il arma, kan sharumat san shetektieret eurat, kayat sur, naurat ed arechur knanda a. Ish grimta utgrel, zarocham nandet iktarut ukrel elerm shurit sim chek niarut ukroram, bra raknand arat sansho, kier takria. Sur hestal arumsoch gnanda kirkda wa sai cham horamdar et krearut or de erat sand chanand or grand erot sum steiret handerot krol elelem suchamt kairot grand amdaurat bra anad sachat ir akserot wa sum shandat ir so shaurat hamnaurat aknam jairat at siel ukrorum tand orim mat anan such narat kral al nen such riet it kterut so jam zarach aktairat anan sashemnen ant irant aktaurut kran haratail urum jaurat samshan nand airutu kurat kral bandarat nun sustam mnairat aktiarut o kwa kasa shaim dand urema Tonund kandat et irut sua shairat at sam. Kwa hamdarat na arastur utsut akdem. Waramda. No asik chend urma utsem. Kashtai.